Hey folks, welcome back. Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock. We're gonna try to pick up where we left off. I screwed up a little bit on the cleanup last week. Let me just make sure my screen's right here. There we go. So I screwed up on the cleanup a bit last week, and I realized when I started the stream today that you'll notice here if I go over to CloudFormation, maybe, hold on. There we go. That you can see I've got a bunch of issues here. So I'm going to clean this one up. And the real problem is actually this stack here that does our security groups. I was trying to clean up last week after we were done, and you see that I got this delete failed. And if we go and look at the events, you'd see there was a reference here when it was trying to delete this security group. And I wandered away, didn't realize it had failed, and then when I was getting ready for today, I'm like, ah, crap. So we got to clean this up first, and I think we can probably delete this now. I'm gonna try it so we can retain these resources. I'm thinking I got these cleaned up. Let's see what it does. Okay, so there's the first one that was lingering around. There's the second one. Okay. And the reason that that happened was, if you remember, our load balancer security group allows access from the public internet, and then our web server security group allows access from the ALB. And we've got those chained together. So in the web server security group, we refer to the ALB security group. And when I tried to delete it, it messed it up. So yeah, we're kind of doing a little bit of quick cleanup here to get restarted for the week. So I'm gonna you can see the pipeline failed. I tried to run this, getting ready for the stream, and you'll notice here, when it got here, it couldn't do anything because the stack was in delete failed state. So I'm just gonna rerun the pipeline. And this should, I think, fix the issue that we had there. So let's see what it does. I think I clicked retry. There we go. Okay, so as we're waiting for that, here's our cheat sheet of the work we want to do. We left off last week kind of mucking around a little bit with the S3 bucket. And I was thinking about this. I think we're going to create a retention policy or a deletion policy on the S3 bucket that we're going to use for logging and everything. Because what I want to do is I want to make sure, well, at least for demo purposes, I don't really care if we delete it because I've got all the config files here that we're going to make. But, you know, in real life, you might want to retain this info. So we're going to set a deletion policy on that S3 bucket. Okay, so I added that. We were in the process of getting really close to testing this. So we've got our load balancer template all built out. Oh, we got the first components of our load balancing template built out, and we'll have to add some target groups, some listeners, and things like that. So maybe we'll get this finished up tonight. My goal would be to see if we could get maybe not WordPress installed, but get the load balancer running with a web server behind it that passes the health check, and then we can see it from the outside world. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm thinking we'll try to get finished up today. Let's have a look at this. There we go, all greens. So that's what we're after. The other thing that I didn't do last week, let me close a bunch of these down, is I actually didn't delete the VPC, which means I ran a bunch of endpoints and stuff all week, which I didn't really have to. So I just made a bit of a build for myself that wasn't smart, but anyways, it's no big deal really. So if we've got now the VPC, we should be able to deploy all of these quickly. Oh, actually, the endpoints were deleted. It was just the VPC. So that means I would have paid for some NAT gateways for the week. Which is no big deal, but I wish I hadn't have forgotten. Just check something here. Yeah, okay. I gotta find a different playlist here. Hang on a second. What do we want to listen to? Oh, wrong keyboard. Too many keyboards. Let's see if there's just something with no, just instrumental or something. Let's do instrumental chill. Let's see what this is. There we go. We'll leave it like that. I think it's a little better. All right, where were we? Doing all the endpoints here. Here's our file system. Now the load balancer, let me just check again. The load balancer should work, I think. Well, let's see what it does. I can't remember from last week if we got this working or not. Let's see what it does. So everything here is good so far. We've got our S3 bucket deployed, so let's go over there. Yeah, so there's our bucket. And see, if you remember last week, we had a log prefix, we had a config prefix. So let's recreate those. So I'm just going to say, what did we call? Yeah, it's just logs for that. I'm going to just call it HTML. And then we're also going to create, we'll just call it conf. Okay. And then in here, I am going to upload this simple index file. So let's do that. Oh yeah, I moved it all under here. So there's our index file. Okay, that's fine. And okay, so EFS is back. ALB is still getting created. Let's relaunch our EC2 instance. So what I did before stream was, one of the issues I had was that you can see here I left the AMI builder that we created last week running, and that contributed to the problem I was having with deleting all the security groups. So I quickly, before stream, I just created a snapshot of that AMI builder that I had left running, because I couldn't, again, you know, I know it's been only a week, but I could not remember what we did. So we're going to relaunch an instance from this one, and we were using T4G mediums. Definitely overkill for what we need, but it'll work. We're going to put this in one of the private subnets. We're going to use our IAM role here, our instance profile. We're going to set all this up later as a launch template, but for now, we're going to create a user data script, but I'm going to leave it for the time being. Here's our two file systems. So we've got our root file system, and then we have a log file system that we're going to create. And I want to make sure that these are both using our customer managed key. And we'll just call this WP AMI builder like we did last time. And I think we're going to use that. Doesn't matter that 22 isn't open, because we're going to use Session Manager. We're going to launch it. We'll use our regular demo key. And we'll give that a minute to come to life. And while we're waiting, let's go back over here. Okay, so the ALB did fail. I'm not surprised because I couldn't remember what we did. Yeah, I'm not sure if we messed this up. I can't remember. Or if it was because I didn't have the prefix created. So let's delete this. Regardless, we're going to have to clean this one up. So let's delete that stack. And let's go back over here to this bucket. And we'll just have a quick look at the policy that's assigned to it. This is our standard deny all activity if you're not using secure transport. Yeah, see, this looks good. Logs. Logs. Delivery. I think it might have been just because I didn't have that folder created or the prefix created. Ends in QV. Let's make sure that the bucket name is correct. I guess I could tell that from over here, couldn't I? Yeah, ends in QV. All right, well, because I didn't have that log folder, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to rerun that stage of the pipeline and let it recreate again and see what it does. Because this way we'll know for sure, right? We've got that log folder there now. Okay, so that's that. The other thing I wanted to do, if we close these down, actually we leave the to-do open, we wanted to go in here and we wanted to add a deletion policy to our S3 bucket. We're going to use the same S3 bucket for log files, for all the config files and everything. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to say deletion policy is retain. Okay, so that's an easy one. Hey Kevin, how are you? Good to see you. We're just really getting started. I had a little bit of cleanup work to do. So let's do this. All right, let's push that. So let's see if this failed again. Yeah, I don't remember. I wasn't watching, right? So I don't know if it failed immediately or not last time. So let's give that a minute to run, and then we should see a change set for this one come to life, as long as I didn't screw the spelling up. Okay, it's doing the S3 deploy now. Failed. Didn't contain changes. Well, that's weird. Let's just have a look at CloudFormation. Yeah, deletion policy. Yeah, deletion policy retain. Well, for the time being, does it really matter? Nah. Maybe it doesn't even generate a change. I don't know. It's an odd one. Let's leave it for the time being, okay? So the other thing we wanted to do was EC2 instance. There's our new machine. So let's make sure we can connect to it. There we go. So I want to make sure that on boot, a couple things happen. Okay, so that's not going to work because we don't have the drive mounted. So let's fix that, because the drive, the www file system is coming from EFS, right? So what we want to do is we want to modify our Fstab file so that when this machine boots, it mounts that drive automatically. So let's do this. We got to do sudo make dir right? Oh, yeah, of course, it's already there. It's just not mounting, right? We created the mount point. And this is what we want to use. Except for that. Okay, so now if we go here, actually we should be able to do this now. Make dir -p, and what was the path? Acme widgets .xyz / public HTML. There we go. And then all I'm going to do for the time being, I got to get into my bash shell here. Okay. And we are going to literally just cut and paste this simple homepage. Okay. I do this every time. We got to do this for now. I didn't change the ownership of this, right? So we want this. I think if I remember what we did last time, we want to do this. Change owner -r. SSM user is the owner, and then Apache is the group. Okay. And we're making SSM user the owner because, well, we're using that ID, right? So there we go. That's good. Which means now if we do this, should come back to life now, because the only reason it wasn't working was because we didn't mount this. There we go. Now, this is the thing I always forget. Let's do this. I can never remember the structure of the Fstab. Okay, so see, we can probably just grab this information right here. Not exactly what I was expecting. Okay, so let's do this. Copy Fstab to just in case. So we got to add a new line here. Let's see if we can find this. I've seen this before, but this is where we were, right? The additional, yeah. Oh, here we go. That's what I was after. Yeah, so we want to update the Fstab file. Okay, connect, open the editor. Oh, okay, that was easy. So let's just copy this. To automatically mount with IAM authorization. Let me mount with an EFS access point. Alexa, stop. I think we just want the top one because we're not using access points. We're not using IAM authorization, but we do have an instance profile, right? We don't have a credentials file. So let's try this and see what it does. Let's go over here. right, and I'm just gonna edit this now. So our file system ID, well, we know this one. This is easy. So we can just go in here and go, our mount point is /www. And then this here is our file system ID, which is that. And that, I think, should do the trick. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop the server first since it's running. And I don't know if it'll let us unmount that drive, right? So stop HTTPD. And now we're just going to make sure we're not on that file system. We'll say sudo umount. Okay. And now we should just be able to say mount -a. And if we've done it right, there we go. So now we should have, I don't know, I did that, public. Perfect. Now, the other thing I want to check here is we want to make sure that, I think we did this already, but just because we're thinking of it, we want to make sure that HTTP starts when the machine comes to life. Okay, so that's that. What we're going to do now is just to test all this out is we are going to go back to EC2 and we are going to, we're just going to completely stop this instance. I could do a reboot, but I like to stop and start. That way I'm sure that it's doing what I want. I got Google listen to me in the background here. There we go. So Kevin, have you been watching any of the baseball? I think the Astros are through. I think they just won this afternoon. And then the Red Sox, that one was surprising, I thought. And Milwaukee and Atlanta are tied 2-2 in the top of the 5th. So if Atlanta wins, that one's over. And then what? At 9 o'clock tonight, just as we finish up the stream, San Fran can put out the Dodgers. So maybe after stream, I'm going to catch the late game there, 9 o'clock one. Houston beat the White Sox 10-1. Wow. I don't know what happened to the Rays. They just stopped hitting, I guess, right? All right, while we're waiting, let's see what else we got here. Well, I guess this is really what we want to concentrate on, eh? So let's go back over. Let's see if our load balancer created this time. Replays, yeah. Oh, look, this failed again. Access denied. So we got to check that. And then this here was our, I think last week we also said let's create some of our own CloudWatch logs. So let's see what this does. So let's go over to CloudTrail and see if we've got any errors here. Error codes enabled. Okay. I just want to see if we've got anything here. I'm hoping that something will throw in here that would help us. These are not helpful. Okay, so what we're going to do then is go here and we'll just check that policy that we added to the S3 bucket. The bucket must be located in the same region as the load balancer. Let's check that first. Everything should be going into CA Central 1. Yeah, that's CA Central 1. Load balancer is going into CA Central 1, so that's fine. Oh, sorry, I'm bouncing around between a lot of things. We got a bunch of things happening at the same time. Okay, that's stopped, so we're just going to restart this. And now we'll just test our Fstab file, make sure that it works. Look at this. Amazon S3 managed encryption keys is required. No other encryption options are supported. We are using our own customer managed key, if I recall. Actually, it's probably easier to look here, isn't it? Yeah, see right here? KMS, and we're using our key. So that means that we need to change the bucket policy. Must have. Okay, let's check one other thing. I wanted to see if maybe something popped up here, but we got the delay, right? The CloudTrail delay. How old are these? Oh, it's the 12th today, so yeah, that's not going to help us a lot. 30 minutes. Nothing. Okay, well, I would assume then this is probably the issue. And this is the bucket policy which we did last time. So let's try, probably the easiest fix here is to just have a quick look at that encryption key, the option here. I think we just change it to S3 right here. See this? Server-side encryption to use the default encryption, so KMS or 256. That is, so I think if we just change it to 256, ES 256. Yeah, so we only need this if we're using a KMS key. So I'm going to do this probably the long way. Let's refresh this one last time just in case. Yeah, nothing. So we're going to go to CloudFormation. And rather than updating, we're just going to delete it. We got a couple rollbacks. I think we tried to do a bunch of this stuff right at the end of stream. And obviously, it probably wasn't a good idea. So why did this fail? I think this is, again, something about, yeah, we needed to, I remember this now, we needed to add the KMS key policy to the, we needed to add CloudWatch logs to the key policy that we had assigned to our customer managed key. That was what that one is. This one here, I think, is due to the encryption. Okay. So you tried not to delete is not empty. Let's go back over here. So we're going to do the old ever helpful empty bucket. All right, that's easy. And then let's go back here and delete this again. Okay. And then what we'll do is we will just remove this. And then we'll make this AES 256. Now, I don't know if we need this anywhere else. Let's just check. We might as well clean it out of here. one of one. Yeah, so we're just going to go like that. And that probably means in our deploy script here, wherever S3 is, we can get rid of this. And we can get rid of that. Oh, Milwaukee's up 4-2. Okay, and while we're waiting for that, we might as well figure out what we need to add to our key policy here. There we go. So we can go and find, I'm going to do the old half and half screen here. See if that'll give us what we want. Yeah, that'll do. And find KMS. Now, can we do the same thing here? Principal star logs. This is a little weird how we did this. EC2, RDS, and EFS. This policy is different, so what we're going to do is we're going to do JSON to YAML again. Didn't we have this problem before too? Oh, this will work. And this is weird. Not sure if I agree that this is the best JSON to YAML. You ever notice you just get used to something? I'm like, I just want the one that I like. Okay, let's try this one and see. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Click. Oh, there we go. You just have to scroll down. I like that side-by-side view. I should have looked that up earlier. Okay, so let's go here. Actually, what am I doing? So we'll do the same old thing we've done before. We're going to go here and we're going to say sub. And we'll use right, and remember we're doing this to try to make these more flexible so that if we run them in different regions, we don't have to change this. So we'll do the same thing down here. We'll wrap all of this in a single quote. Right. Okay, log group, log name. So now this is where it gets a little tricky. So log group has to stay the same. Log group name. Now you could put this as a star, but what I want to do is I want to tie it to specifically these. So see what we've done? We pushed the name, the project name in here. So we're creating something called project name / error log, project name / access log, project name / system log. So we need to look up this project name, which is just WordPress Twitch. Okay, so what we could do now is we could just take this, right? And we should be able to go in here, and log group is always the same. And then this is going to be log group name WordPress Twitch. Okay. And that should be it. So that'll need to be deleted. This needs to be deleted. And I think we pushed our S3 update, didn't we? I don't see it here, so maybe our pipeline failed. Yeah, it did. So KMS, oh, that's the one that just ran. Hold on. So this one failed before. Where did this fail? Okay, that's the CloudWatch log issue. And this is probably load balancer because it's the last one. Too many changes happening all at the same time. So let's fix this first. So probably have just a bad space or something. Line 58. Right here. Yeah, we got the extra space. So we just want to grab, whoops. All, ooh, what did I do there? Make this a little bigger. So we do this. Pull it back. Let's see what happens here. So there's KMS going. I'm not going to run this until this is done. I think we can run this one though, since we're creating it all from scratch again. And the KMS one, I find the KMS updates take a little longer, so I'll give that a bit. Okay, let's check our S3 bucket. There's our new bucket. Now what we should have here, we're using S3 managed keys now, rather than our own customer managed keys. So still encrypted, but instead of us creating a key in KMS and letting KMS, basically S3 would talk to KMS. In this case, the keys are created within the S3 service and managed within S3 on our behalf. Okay, so still encrypted. All right, so that means then, why don't we go back here and let's run this again. let's create that. Let's create that logs directory first, or prefix, I guess. See that? I think we don't need to make any changes here. Okay. And let's go here and try this one again. Okay. See, KMS is still going. I don't know why KMS. Oh, there it goes. That should finish up. Okay. And now we've got the key policy there for CloudWatch logs. Let's run this one and see what it does. We've got something else going on here. I wonder if I need /star because we've got log group WordPress Twitch. I wonder if it needs, see here, it's got / and the name after. Oops. I don't know if that's, it's funny they don't give you an example, but who knows. So we'll just go like that. Actually, you know what? We should RTFM a little bit more, right? See if they give us another example here. So here they're just saying basically all logs. And I'm trying to make ours a little tighter than that and on the specific log group, right? Region, we got account ID, log group name. Well, let's try it. What's the harm, right? It's not like this is important, so this is the time to test it out and see what happens. Do we have anything in progress still? So this oh, this is delete, okay. And I think our pipeline must have failed again here somewhere. Oh, it didn't. There's ALB. Ah, there we go. Okay, so we were 1 for 2. So the load balancer was able to access that file now. Or sorry, I keep saying file. The prefix that we created. So if we go back over, I got logged out everything. Go back over to our S3 bucket. Logs, AWS log. There's our test file. So that's the load balancing service writing to this folder for us. Okay, to test that it works. Sorry, my iPad's gonna die. Just give me a second. I'm gonna plug it in. Okay, so that's good. Now, if we can figure out our CloudWatch logs, then we're good. Just now. Let's go back over here. Did I not push this? Yeah, I did. Oh, sorry, I'm doing too much filtering here. We just want KMS, right? We're just going to modify this key policy again. Okay. And then the other thing that we could check now is we could quickly jump back over to the EC2 instance and just, yeah, give it a shot, right? We're in a safe environment here. What can go wrong? Other than some typos and redoing of things, right? No harm, no foul. So what I'm expecting here is, there we go. We auto-mounted the file system now. And if we do systemctl status httpd, it's running. Okay, so we can't get to this web server yet because we're going to have to go through the load balancer. But we know that when the EC2 instance boots up, that it auto mounts the file system and it starts the HTTP server. So that's good. Okay. Now, I don't think we're going to need to blow up our S3 bucket anymore. So here's what I want to do. I want to get these files, phpconf, and actually it's not what I care about right now. I want to go here. And I want to get our HTTP conf file off of this machine and put it in the S3 bucket. And the reason I want to do that is, remember here, in theory, what we want to have is we want to have a fleet of EC2 instances that are able to serve, in our example, WordPress sites, right? So what we need, though, is we're going to have auto-scaling adding and removing these machines. So we want a config file centrally located, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use a user data script in the auto-scaling configuration in the launch template, and we're going to give it enough permissions to get that http.conf file and copy it down to the machine on boot. And then we will stop and start the web server. So that's the plan. We're going to do this real sophisticated like, and we are going to, we chopped this right down, so it shouldn't be a huge file. So we're going to go in here, and I'm just going to include this in our GitLab repo. And you can see how sophisticated we're going to do this. We're just going to do this. And you can see that last line. That last line's important too. Okay, there we go. And then, oops. Now we don't need welcome, we don't need user dir, auto index. I want to say we don't need this either. Yeah, I don't think we need that. So really all we need is phpconf. Yeah. Okay. So how do we want to organize this? I might do something like this and say under here, and then go, what did they call this? Modules, I think it was. Actually, we can look here, can't we? Optional. So we're going to do, and I want this just so when we create our script, it's easier to remember where things go. So this is going to live under there. And then under here, we're going to do the same super advanced way to do this, and we are going to grab this. Where is it? Oh, right here. Oh, I missed the first character, didn't I? Okay. Okay, so now we've got those two files there. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to create here. I'm just going to call it, now we could do this in CloudFormation. I find it in CloudFormation when we create a user data script in CloudFormation, or an init script in CloudFormation, I'm sure it's way easier than it is in my brain. But you know what, we're going to work through it. I was going to say, I find it challenging to get it configured properly, and I find it easier just to create a simple, in this case, shell script that we could run here. Let's have a quick look at what's involved first, okay, before I decide how we're going to do it. Ah, nice. Driving home, listening to the stream. Oh, that's cool. All right, so let's do this. CloudFormation init. So you can see here, files, commands, see here? This is what I'm thinking right here. We can use the files section. I'm going to show us an example. Test, files, here we go. You can use the files key to create files in the EC2 instance. They can be the inline or template, or the content can be pulled from a URL. So see, that pulled from the URL thing is important, because what we could do then is use the S3 URL to pull it down, right? So let's see here. So the following example snippet creates a file named setup.mysql as part of the larger install. So this creates a symlink. Okay, that's fine. We don't really want that. They're not going to give us an example of how to do it from a URL, are they? They're not. Oh, see, here's one here. See, that's configuring a full service. Really, all I want to do is pull something down. Ah, here we go. Sources Etsy Puppet. Downloads a zip file from an S3 bucket and unpacks it here. Creating users. I like this idea, because then that way, actually no, this is not what we want, because we want to do this in, let me just think about this. I guess we could include the init script in the launch template. You know what? I think I'm going to go with what I know, and we can always circle back on this later. So let me put it in our to-do list and maybe say, we'll just do this, cfn init script. Okay, but I think for the time being, what I want to do is I'm just going to create this, and we're just going to call it and all we really need here are a couple S3 commands, AWS CLI commands. So if we think about what we want to do, we want to basically S3 copy, and I'm going to upload a couple of these files to our S3 bucket just to set it up. So let's go here. And we're going to create conf. And then in here, I think what I'll do is I'll create a couple subfolders. So HTML. And we'll call this, what did we end up doing here? Oh no, sorry, I wanted, let's just do this, www httpd. This can go away for now. We don't really need that HTML directory at this right now. Okay. So there we go. Under here, we want this file. Oops, no, back here. Okay, that's easy. And then we want under here, I'm going to call it so sort of the optional components. And in this case, what we want is the PHP command, the PHP conf file. Just here. All right, so there's our two files. Okay. Now over here, all we're really going to do is we're going to do AWS S3 copy. Okay. And that's going to fail, but I'm expecting it to fail when we try to run this as well, because this doesn't have any access, any permissions to that S3 bucket yet. So let's see if we can get that sorted now. So if we go back over to version 2, and all we want is a CP command. Local path, so we want to come from the S3 bucket to the local path. Okay. And I'm going to go back up here. And what we're going to do is just say copy this. Do I have a couple of these windows open? I do. So we'll do AWS S3 CP, and we'll just say to here. Now this should throw an error, right? Because we don't have permissions to that. Now this will take a little bit of time, but what I'm thinking is the way I'd like to do this is make sure that the role that we're assigning to this policy gives us just enough access. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait for it to throw a few errors, and we'll see the error code in here, which will give us the specific events that we need, and we'll just kind of work through it and grab it. It's a little slow, I find, but I think it's a better way to do it, because then we make sure that we have just enough access to do what we want. Okay. So as we're waiting for this, let's go back over here. Actually, let me open another window. I never looked at the pipeline to see if it actually worked. Doing too many things at one time. Okay, no failures there, so let's go back to KMS, and we should see another update here. I don't even know if this will work. There's no change set. Oh. What's that thing about humans aren't good multitaskers? Here's a good example of that. I didn't even remember that we ran that. Hey, there we go. Okay, so now, I knew this took us a while to get here, but remember what we're doing here is we're creating our own CloudWatch log group, or yeah, a single group, and underneath that we'll have the way that we're going to organize things, right? Because actually it's not single group, sorry, it's all organized under a path. So we're just saying WordPress Twitch or whatever we called it, and then underneath there we'll have the individual groups for the sources. So if we go over here and we look at these now, see these here? These are the ones we just created. And you'll notice the difference. If we look at one of these, we now are using our KMS, our customer managed key that we created earlier on, and we've set the retention period of 5 days. If you remember, the last week or the week before, we created these using the Unified CloudWatch Logs agent. And if you'll see what happens here, not encrypted at rest, and the default is to never expire. What we're going to do is we are going to change this. We could put this as code as well, we probably should, but for today we are going to go in here, and here are the configs. Okay? And you can see this is our log group name. All we need to do is we need to say edit. And this is better as code, right? Because you don't even have to do this. So I'm going to go in here now and say, what was it? WordPress Twitch / something. It's amazing how quickly my brain forgets. Okay, so error log, access log, system log, and it's WordPress-Twitch. System log. System log. And we're going to get, oh, that file path is right. This is what needs to change. All right. Okay, let's just double check this one last time here. Error log, access log, system log. Error log, access log, system log. Perfect. And then we'll save this. Okay, so now if you notice, we are running version 2 of this. So what we want to do is we want to go over to Systems Manager. We want to go to the run command. And we want to run a command. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to update the config file on the single machine that we have. So we're going to use manage agent. We're going to go here, and I can't remember the name of the, it's not what I want to go here, of the parameter group. Not the parameter group, sorry, the parameter store name. So we want this. Okay, here we go. And you have to be careful of the version. I want to say it's like that. We'll see what it does. And since we only have the one machine, we're saying, hey, just use that. I'm not going to write to an S3 bucket. Let's see what this does. Okay, there we go. Now, there's a couple ways we can test this. I can't remember the path to the config file on the host itself. So what we'll do is we'll just do something really simple. We're just going to do AWS system CTL restart. So all that's going to do is it's going to write to the error log for us. And then I think it might take a little bit of time. I don't know how quickly this will work. But what we should see here, let's clean up these two. We don't want these anymore. It's just the two. So let's delete those log groups. Nothing yet. We'll give it a bit of time. I do notice that sometimes it takes a little bit for it to come to life. And if it doesn't, if we don't see something here by the end, we'll double check. Oh, look. Did I do that wrong? I did that wrong. Look, I've got a leading slash, no leading slash. It's always something, right? There's always something. See how AWS does this? Slash AWS. We need to change these. What a pain in the butt. Eh? Always takes a while to do things. It takes longer to do things the way you want to when you think about it. Okay, so let's go up here. Let's go over. I think it's here. Yeah, see, we've got, so what it's doing is it's starting with this and then putting the slash here. So it's going to seem a little awkward, but what we're going to do is we're just going to go like this. How can we do this to get that leading slash? Because I don't want it to go slash slash. You know what? I think what we're going to do is we're going to do it this way instead. We're going to edit this. And we're just going to take off the leading slash. And then remember, though, that we haven't updated our agent. So we got to go back over here now. Go to the run command. Let's go up here and get rid of these. We want to run a new command, and remember it's the manage agent command, which is right here. we want anything that I can't remember. And now we want to use version 3 of this file. Okay, and then we'll just do the same thing. We'll just see if we can generate something off of it. There we go. So there's us just starting and stopping it. So that's perfect. So that's doing what we want now. And now we've got control over these as far as retention period and encrypting it. So that's good. We should have some system logs here. Pretty quick it comes to life, right? So that's great. Okay. So if we go back to our to-do list, in progress, done, done. Oh, not supported. Create CFN template for blah, blah, blah. This is now finished. And this was just a link to the docs because that was my reference to do the KMS key ID update. Good. What else is up here? Done, 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 done. VPC endpoints. We added, oh, it's read. CloudWatch logs is here. That's done. Our S3 bucket is there. This will come from the load balancer when we get that finished. This is done. That's done. So let's just make sure that we don't forget anything here. All right, so this we've really changed this to be, this is done, I guess. And this is done. We didn't call it this, but that's done as well. So we've got that. We need to verify that this is working. Okay. Which actually, I wonder if we could do. So if we go back up here, logs. There's obviously nothing here yet. I don't even know if we can hit that load balancer at this point. It'll have a name, but it won't really do anything. So I'm not sure if it'll generate a log file or not off of it. So if we go over to the load balancer, here is its DNS name, and we can just do this. Unable to connect, right? There's nothing behind it. There's no target groups. There's no listeners. There's nothing. So I don't know if that'll do anything. Let's work on this a little bit, because if we could finish up the ALB config, that would let us test our web server behind it, and it would also let us test that this is working. So let's go back to that. All right, so we've got our load balancer configured. The next thing is we need listeners on this. So right now the load balancer isn't listening on anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 listeners, one on 443 and one on 80. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the port 80 redirect to 443. So we'll make sure that we're always using an encrypted connection from the public internet. Okay. And let's find our application load balancer here. It's probably easier. There it is. So we've got our load balancer. We need our listener. So what we'll say is I'll just call this listener 0, and this one's going to do TCP 80. Guess I need the there. And what is it? Listener. We might as well put a depends on in here. Right, we can't create the listener without the load balancer, so we'll do that. We don't need this because at this point it's not a TLS listener. This is the open one. We don't have certs. Default actions we do need to set up, so let's do this. What's the structure of this one? Okay, our handy placeholder for the time being. Load balancer ARN. And then this is where we're just going to go back here. And I'm just going to look at the outputs from this so I know how to refer to it. So if you just use a ref command, it gives us the ARN. So that's easy. So that means we can just do this. Ref LB0. The port on which the load balancer is listening, you cannot specify it for a gateway. Port 80. Protocol. Actually, if we do this, right, we don't need that. Okay, for application load balancers, the supported protocols are HTTP and HTTPS. So that, because this is not required, we're getting the info from here, so that's fine. We don't have an SSL policy. That's it for that listener. That's easy. What we're going to do is we're going to create these in stages, because what we're going to need here is we're going to need a certificate, and then we're going to need to basically create another listener that uses that certificate. So let's create acm.yaml, and let me actually see if we've got a certificate manager here, or an ACM, a cert. There we go. Okay, we don't. All right. So we're going to create a cert, and we'll just borrow like we always do off the beginning of one of these. This over here a bit. There we go. All right, so we're not making a private cert, so we don't need the certificate authority. Transparency logging, you can opt out of transparency logging by specifying disabled. Opt in by specifying enabled. I think we want to do this. If we do not want to, if we don't specify it on a new CloudFormation template, or if you remove it, it's the same as enabling it. Okay, so we're not going to specify it so that it's just enabled. That's fine. Now this is where domain name. Let's get rid of VPC stack. I don't think we're going to need that. Okay. Now this is where it's going to get interesting, and I always mess this up. So there's a couple ways to do this. When you apply for a cert, you have to validate that you own the domain that you're asking for that cert on. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. We're in Route 53, so we're using Amazon's DNS solution. Because of that, we can have it actually do some of this work for us. So I always forget how this works. We might have to try this a couple times. Dash, okay. All right, so domain name will refer to the domain name that we've already created. Right, this is the fully qualified domain name for the cert. Hosted zone ID. Now we created this manually, okay? So we don't have anywhere to go and find this. so we can't use like an import command or anything like that. So we're just going to say hosted zone ID. Okay, we'll pass that in as a parameter. And then this, yeah, so we don't want this because you can see here, where do we want ACM to send the validation emails? We want that to actually happen through the hosted zones. So this is not required. This is available for using Route 53 as your domain. It causes ACM to add the CNAMEs to your domain record. So that's perfect. Okay, so this should do it automatically for us. Okay. So I think that's all we need. This is the part that I always get confused on when I'm creating this. And then we want subject alternative. I have to sound out these big words, names. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use a join statement. Okay. And we're going to do it like this. Actually, sorry, the delimiter is going to be that. Okay. And then we're going to say star, comma, ref, domain name. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying I want you to cover, in our case, acmewidgets.com or acmewidgets.xyz, and then we're going to say all subdomains underneath that. And this way we can just join them together. We don't have to list them out. Okay. Now, see this one, validation method. This is the other one. So this is what we need to add here. Validation method is going to be DNS. The method you want to use to validate that you own or control the domain. Okay, we can do it with DNS or we can do it with email. They recommend doing DNS. So you could use DNS validation even without Route 53. So what it'll do when we run this is it will give you CNAMEs. So let's say you were hosting outside of AWS. You just grab those CNAMEs, go to wherever you registered your domain, and put this CNAMEs in. And you've got some time there, and the CloudFormation template will kind of, I don't know what the timeout period is, I can't remember. And then what it'll do is it'll just check to see if it can see those entries in whichever registrar service you're using. Once it validates that those are there, it'll finish for you. Okay, and then I'm going to borrow again from here. Okay. All right, so we're going to need this in order to finish this next piece. So this is actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out so that I don't have to have this fail on us. Okay. Kind of did this in reverse order. So what we want to do is we want to update our CI script. We're starting to get quite the collection of templates here to do this. We're going to take this and we're going to say ACM. Okay, and then we can deploy ACM really whenever we want. So we can do it here at the beginning. And we will call it ACM. Now we need a couple things here. We need domain name, which we've already said is acmewidgets.xyz. Okay. The subject alternative names is fine. And then we need hosted zone ID, which we can go over here and grab from Route 53. You can create this in CloudFormation as well, but this is a zone that we've just had for a while. So we're just going to go over here. Oh, I went in here where I didn't need to. I just need to select this. View details, is it? Where is the zone ID? It's somewhere here. Let me just make sure that it's not getting cut off. There we go. That's what I'm after. Okay, and I'm just going to dump that right here. Okay, we'll leave that and we'll say domain name. I'm going to change that. I don't know why I made that in a case form that I never use. So hosted zone ID equals. Okay, let's change this guy up. And let's just check to see if we need anything else here. Domain name, hosted zone. See what I did there? It's weird how I typed that like that. Yeah, I did it the right way down here. Okay, I think that's all we need for that. I want to just check to make sure there's no, because we're always, okay, this is empty. I think we cleaned this out a couple streams ago. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, what happened here? I don't know what happened there. I must have not checked something in. It's weird. Let's see what it does on this side. I think I did a commit and didn't push. So what just happened there is I had two commits that needed to be merged together. I think that's probably what happened. Oh, look, I screwed this up somehow. I don't see ACM here. Yeah, I didn't add it to the deploy stages. I always do that. Checks failed. One, oh, that's because I left the to-do in that other file, I think. In the ALB one. Let's see now if I've got the deploy here. There it is. While we're waiting, let's do our score check. (4-4). Atlanta tied it up again. Top of the 7th. Ah, what I got wrong here. ACM. At least one resource member must be defined. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen that before. Oh, look. Maybe a little tired. Resources, the only section that's required in a CloudFormation template. And I managed to somehow not put it in there. It's a good one. Ah. I've got all sorts of spacing problems as usual. Cut and paste always seems like it's going to help you until it doesn't, right? Seems like a time saver. Not necessarily convinced that it always is. Line 43. Oh, look at. I'm going to blame it on lack of caffeine. That's what I'm going to say. I'm trying to kick my caffeine habit. That's my excuse. I'm going with it. At least it didn't fail before we made it over to the pipeline, right? That's a good sign, I think. Okay, there we go. So now if we go back over here and go to formation, we should see ACM. Here's our change set, so we're creating the single cert. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't add some outputs, because we are going to need these outputs in another template. So let's see what this does anyways. Execute the change. You can always come back and add the outputs. Yeah, I'm glad you said weather change and not the very quickly graying beard. Some sort of holiday jibe there. Starting to look a little Saint Nick-ish here with the rapidly graying beard. Slightly scary. All right, so if we go to Route 53, I'm wondering if we can see this happening already. There we go. So there's our first CNAME. I think you might end up with 2 records here. I can't quite remember on how this will work, but that's what we want it to do. So, and this is doable because we're in Route 53, right? Because CloudFormation can talk to Route 53. But remember, if you're not in, if you're not using Route 53, you've got something else. What you'd see, there you go, see right here? You could just cut and paste this. There's your name entry there's the name, there's the type of entry, it's a CNAME, and then there's the value. So if you're using a different registrar, you could go ahead and do that as well. But I think it's pretty slick that it's now integrated into Route 53 if you've gone that way. Easy that way. Let's get rid of that to just a little more view. Okay, so that looks pretty good. While we're waiting, why don't we figure out what we missed? I'm going to clean a couple of these out. What we missed on the outputs. So actually, maybe the better way to do this is check. If we go back over here, I'm thinking that it needs the ARN of the cert. So here's our listener, and if you remember right here, it's a list of a cert. Yeah, it's the cert ARN. So what we need then is if we find certificate manager, we just want to look at what the return values are. And a ref returns the ARN. Okay, so let's add that section since I forgot. So we'll just say cert 0 ARN. The value is ref cert 0. And the export, we'll just use the thing that we use all the time. And I'm just going to say, what did we call this stack? So it's WordPress. What do we call it? I think it's all development ACM. So we'll just do cert ARN. Okay, and that way we know what it is. There we go. Okay, perfect. So that's done. So if we go back over to Route 53 and we refresh this, it's just the single entry, okay, that gets created. So we're good there. And we'll just watch this pipe because we need that output first before we can go back and do the other listener. Once this is done, what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll actually change it up. I'm going to create the HTTPS listener first, and then the HTTP listener. Output is malformed. The name must be specified. Oh, look, I forgot a quote. So Kevin, are you a hockey fan? Because I guess tomorrow's the start, isn't it? I think maybe there's a couple NHL games tonight, but the big night's tomorrow, isn't it? Pittsburgh's actually playing tonight. Nothing. Looks like they're starting the second. So there's 2 games tonight. Seattle plays tonight too, the Kraken, for their first ever NHL game, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow's the big night for Canadian hockey fans, Montreal and Toronto. All right, let's go back over here, refresh. We should see a change set here. We won't actually see anything here. It's just an output. So we'll run that. Oops, sorry. Keep hitting refresh. So this should just happen really quick. It's basically just creating the output for us. So if we go over here now, there's our output. So we can grab that when we need it. Yeah, tonight, yeah. Yeah, wow. Still a pretty good team when you think about it, even after all this time, right? Okay, so that's ACM. Let's go back over to our ALB template. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to leave this commented out, and I'll change this to listener 1. Okay, and we're just going to retype this. So we'll say listener 0. It's good practice, right? Sick load balancing version 2. Listener. Oh yeah, we want our depends on. Even though we've got it already, we'll make it like if we're building this from scratch. And then properties. Now we still need default actions, which we know we've got to come back to. Load balancer. Why am I doing this? It's the last backwards, isn't it? Okay. Now we do need, since this is secure, we need this cert information. So let's go back over here. Yeah, I played hockey. I played hockey as well up until I went to university, and then I played in pickup leagues and stuff like that, but it was never really that good. Still fun to play though. Let's shrink this down. Okay, so here you can see we need that cert, right? So we're gonna go like this, certificates. And then it's just a list of the certs that we want to add. And in this case, it's just 1. So we're going to say certificate. I think I better just cut and paste that one. I'm starting to have some spelling issues here. Okay, and then we're just going to use this ACM stack. And what did we call it? Cert arn. Right, and then we got to go up here and we got to add, right, we're going to pass that in. So that's the certificate. Default actions, port, protocol, SSL policy. We will check. Let's have a look at this. I want to say it uses the most current one, this one right here. Again, connections. I think this is the newest one. Oh no, see, these are 27. What is the, okay, so Amazon recommends ELB security policy 2016-08 for compatibility. You can use, if you require forward secrecy, you can use TLS to meet compliance and security standards to blah, 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 or to support legacy clients. Well, you know what, we're gonna use this one because that's what AWS recommends for the highest amount of compatibility. So we'll leave that as the default, which means we don't need to do anything additional there. So to make this look the same, I'm gonna go TCP 443, just so we know what we're doing on this one. And now what we need is we need the default actions. And I think there's an example here. Yeah, see this? What they're showing you here is the port 80 one, the port 80, and how it's redirecting to HTTPS. What we need here is we don't want a redirect rule, we want a forward rule, and we're going to forward that to the target group. This is, I'm going to just basically use exactly this for our port 80 here in a second. So let's go back up here and go to, what am I looking for? Default actions. Wow. So it's a dash, okay. We're not using Cognito. We're not using any OpenID, so that's fine. Information for creating an application that returns a custom response. We don't need to worry about that. Forward config. Distributes requests among a bunch of target groups. That's what we want. So we're not using an NLB, which only supports a single group. Specify only when type is forward. If you specify forward and target group, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this would then be forward config. And I think it's just, oops, target groups. This is, we haven't created a target group yet, so we'll just put that there. And it does support sticky groups. So what this means is it's the way that it distributes traffic. We're not going to worry about stickiness here, so we're just going to leave it off. Okay, and you can see some examples here. And I like the way they've done this. I know that I usually try to do this in, I try to make the properties in alphabetical order, but I actually like how they say type is forward, okay, and then we've just got it configured like this. I think it's easier to read. Okay. Okay, so that's type. Target group ARN. Let's have a look at what we need to do here. Like maybe we don't even need this because it says here that the forward config is not required. And because we've got the forward set, we could just do this. Target group ARN, and then just make this a to-do. We'll create our target group here in a second. And then type is that, is action, or is forward. That's it. I like that. I think that's cleaner. Let's do that. And then what we can do now is we can grab this and just go like this. And now this is where we're going to grab, was it back here? Nope. They had a good example somewhere, right? I think it was back here. This is exactly what we want. So in this case, our type is a redirect. And then we can use exactly what they have here. Redirect config, protocol, HTTPS, port 3, host is what? Oops. Ha. My keyboard is coming back to get me. There we go. Host I don't really know if we need all of this, but we can always come back and change it. And then our status code is the redirect, permanent redirect, I think it is, right? HTTP 301. And then the rest of this is fine. So that's good. Our two listeners, and now what we need is our target group. Okay, so I'm just going to call this target group 0, and both of these, this guy depends on target group 0, and we can just refer to this here. All right, so let's get this created. Just target group. I don't know what this depends on, so we'll wait for now. I would suspect that there's maybe a reference in here to the load balancer. I'm not sure. Okay, let's have a look. Indicates whether health checks are enabled. If the target type is Lambda, health checks are disabled by default. It can be enabled. If the target type is instance IP or ALB, health checks are always enabled and cannot be disabled. So that's fine, because our target's going to be well, regardless, it's an instance, an IP, or an ALB, so we don't have to worry about that. The default is 10 seconds for the health check interval in seconds, so we don't need that. We'll leave it as well. The destination for the health check on targets. The ping path, the default is /. I don't think we need this. I'll double check. Our port. If the protocol is HTTP, HTTPS, the default is traffic port. It feels like we're leaving a lot of this stuff out, but we'll come back. The default is HTTP. Network load balancers. Again, I don't think we need a lot of this. Timeout seconds. We can leave all the defaults. Threshold healthy count. The default is 5. We leave that alone. The IP address used for this target group, this is optional. It defaults to IPv4, so that's fine. Okay, so here we go. HTTP, HTTPS health checks. The HTTP or GSP codes to use when checking for a successful response. Now this says it's not required, but I would say that we probably need that. Name, not required. Port, okay, this one's conditional. Is used unless you specify a port override when registering the target. If the target is Lambda, the parameter does not apply. If the target is, or if the protocol is this, so let's do this. Port is the port on which the targets receive traffic. So in this case, we're going to use encrypted traffic on the public internet, so HTTPS, and then from the load balancer to the EC2 instance, it's going to be unencrypted, right? We can re-encrypt it if we want, but we're going to leave it as port 80. Protocol, again, is conditional. HTTP, the protocol to use for routing traffic. I'm going to put this in to make sure that we get what we want. So in this case, it's going to be HTTP. This isn't required. I think it uses HTTP2. Tags, target group attributes, targets, target type. Here we go. Yeah, so we're going to use instances because we want to register the targets by the instance ID, and that's the default. VPC ID we need. Okay, so this is going to be we just got to get what we set that as here in the outputs. It's just VPC. That'll pass us the VPC ID, so I think we're good there. So we can just do this. Okay, and then we'll grab tags from here and we'll make sure the spacing is correct this time. That looks good. Okay. We don't need this. This really feels quite light. This we're not going to worry about because, you know, we're just testing the load balancer tonight. Remember that we're going to do an auto scaling group here. So this is really just to make sure the auto scaling, or sorry, the load balancer works and we can send traffic to that simple test EC2 instance that we have there. We'll see how much this is going to change next week when we set up the auto scaling group. Okay. It feels like we're missing stuff here. Like there's so many things up here that we could put in. The matcher, let's see what their example looks like. I got a lambda function. That's great. Let's have a look at matcher. So in this case, we want to say we're expecting to get back a 200 error code, right? I am not confident that this is going to work the way that we've got it set. It seems too basic. But let's see here. So we need to add in the ACM stack. So we got to go back over here. And we're going to say I will be shocked if this runs through. Let's see what happens. Now you'll notice that I didn't put any, hey, Pittsburgh's winning 2-0. You'll notice that I didn't put any targets in, right? And we're just gonna do the target registration manually for the time being to see it work. But we'll get the auto scaling group set up later. Invalid template, listener 0. Let's close it down, these guys. We don't need them. Oh, look, I've got, yeah. Good old tab problems. I think I've got all of these in one. They should all line up there, okay. Or not so lucky, yeah. I can't say that I'm shocked at this point. Depends on. You'd think by now I would remember that one. What's that called? It's a I guess I could just do my regular thing, right? Fix. crappy part is, look at all the stages we got to get through. ALB is the last one. Oh, there we go. It'll give us a chance to check the scores, right? Pittsburgh's up. And still 4-4, mid-8th. All right, there we go. I'll make this screen a little bigger. What's it doing? So our 2 listeners and our target group. A listener port must be specified. I thought we had that. Listener 1. Wow, I've totally misread that. I could have sworn in here it said that you didn't need that. Listener. Port. Required no. Okay. Well, then let's just be careful, and we're going to do this. Port. This is 443, right? And this port is 80. Guess we don't need that, do we? Oh, the crappy part is the waiting here. It's like watching a kettle boil, isn't it? Almost there. Almost there. Slow and steady, you got it. That I don't really care about right now. Okay. Round 2. Okay, target group. We made it that far. Hey, okay. So if we go back to EC2 and then load balancer. Here's our load balancer. There's our 2 listeners, right? So let's make this a little bigger so we can see everything. So you can see that we've got the default rule here. So if you hit 443, it just redirects, or sorry, it forwards. If you hit 80, then it redirects us to HTTPS and past the host, the path, the query, anything along to that port. So that's great. Then we can go here, and the target group will be, for now, empty. Okay, so let's register a target, and we'll register it as pending, and we'll say pending target. Okay, that'll take it a minute, but you can see here what we've got set up. Target type is an instance. We're using IPv4 on the load or on the targets. Okay, what it's listening on, the load balancer, all that great stuff, and then what's happening down here. Okay. And what we should see here is it'll take a little bit of time for this to come to life. There we go, it's healthy. So now, if we go to our load balancer, and actually we should be able to go like this, acme widgets.xyz. Not what I was expecting to see. Ping acme widgets.xyz. Can't resolve. Okay, so let's try this. This will probably work, but it might throw like a security error. Yeah, okay, because we've got that ACM loaded. So what we're going to do is we're going to say advanced and say accept the risk and continue. There you go. If you're looking for widgets, you come to the right spot. So, oh, of course, so silly. We didn't update. There's the clip. So silly. We didn't update this. So we have to go in here, and what we're going to do is we are going to create an alias record. Okay, simple routing, next, define a simple record. Acme widgets is, every time I go in here, these screens are different. Hold on, cancel. Yeah, create a record. There we go. This is what I like how I like how the wizard is like more complicated than this. What I was expecting to see is alias. And now what I can do is go load balancer, Canada, and there's our load balancer. Okay. So now we're going to say create record. Now, if you hit Acme widgets, it goes to the load balancer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to say CNAME. Right? If you're trying to go to www, go to acmewidgets.xyz. So now we've got both records covered. Now, if we go over here, it's going to take some time, I guess, right? Take a little bit of time. Nothing yet. Hey, Kevin, can you see it on your side? If you try to hit acmewidgets.xyz, does it work? Acmewidgets.xyz, yeah. If you try to ping it or anything, nothing yet. You know, while we're waiting, what we could do, I'm not sure how often there's a, is it every 60 seconds, I think? So if we go back to the, let's check the load balancer config. So if we go over to the load balancer and, so there's our access logs. Okay. If we go over here, yeah, okay, that's fine. Let's go over to S3 and see while we're waiting. Not yet, still. If we weren't doing this on stream, it would happen really fast, right? It would just plunk in there. Let's go here. Logs, logs. There we go. After you click 47 layers deep, now we've got gzip files of all the access that's hitting the load balancer. So that's good. You know, the other thing, I guess this won't populate yet because DNS isn't updated yet. But in theory, we should start to see the health checks flowing here. So if we go to access logs, there we go. So these are all the health check records. Right, and now this looks like, that's interesting. You don't happen to be on your iPhone, do you? That looks like something from the outside world. Isn't that weird? I'm just gonna try. I don't. It's not gonna matter, but. Huh. That was probably me right there when I hit the non. Yeah, see right here, non-word. Just the ACF, the ALB DNS name. So that was probably me there. Did I do this right? acmewidgets.xyz. Yeah, that's fine. That's really weird. Normally it happens really just quick, bang, and it's up and working. Let's try one other thing. Let's go over. I'm gonna leave that open because we probably want it. EC2. Oops. Too many search bars right at the top now. EC2. Go to the instances. I don't want to do that, right? I want to connect. Okay, so it's working from the EC2 instance. It's just taking a little while to propagate outside. I'd like to see it come to life. What could we, let's look at our to-do list here while we're waiting. So we know this is working now, right? Oh, Kevin, can you get there? So you get the same page, if you're looking for widgets, then you've come to the right spot. So this is now done. I would say that the Apache is done, it's installed. What we need here is a bootstrap script still, right? So that's that. Not supported, this is done. Wow, we're really close. Really what we need to do is get the auto-scaling group running and then test out our bootstrap script for when the machines come to life out of from auto-scaling, and then we can get WordPress working. Let me see if it's working from my side. It's still not working for me. But if you can see it from your side, then we're great. And it's after 9, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it here for tonight, and then next week we'll see if we can get this finished up. I should actually go in here, right? And we've got an auto-scaling group to do. So we've got to finish our AMI, which I think at this point is... Let me just try this one more time. Yeah, it's weird. Let's go here and say Acme. I'm still not liking me. What was I going to say? ASG. Okay, yeah. What I'm going to do is we're going to say cancel. We're going to shut this off because I want to make sure that I get an AMI of it, and then we'll call it a night. And I want to make sure that I can actually clean all this up this week, unlike last week where I left it all running. Hey, I just realized my cat was in the office, or one of the cats was in the office. He was hiding under the futon. And now he's looking at the closed door, like wondering how he gets out of here. Hey, bud, you gotta hold on a minute. Must have been having a good nap. He looks really sleepy. It gets so hot in this office when I close the doors and stuff. I guess it's just the computers running and everything. And, oh man. I don't know if you can hear him or not. He's letting me know he's definitely not happy right now. Give me a second. We're waiting for this to stop anyways. Give me a sec. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you could hear that. He's rather vocal. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here. We are going to say WP AMI, and today is what, 12, 10, 21, and I know I have one of these already, so I'll call it V2, and we'll create an image. That should happen pretty quick. There it is. So I'm gonna nuke this one. We don't need this anymore. We'll let this finish up, and then we will call it a night. Ooh, Atlanta is up in the top of the ninth. 5-4. Wow, that'd be something else. Actually, I don't know, my end must be caching or something. Yeah, that would be pretty impressive to see that. So what? The Red Sox put out Tampa, and now Atlanta's going to put out Milwaukee in theory. So let's see here. They give you the little kind of. So that means, let's see, the fourth team took out the first team, and then on the other side, the third place team's going to potentially take out the second place team, and San Fran could win. The Giants could win tonight. Wow. And then Houston, number 2 over number 3. Yeah, okay. So the number 4 and the number 2 seed made it through into the Eastern Championship. And then, yeah, to be decided on the NL yet. That's something else. Okay, so there we go. We got that. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to terminate this, and that should let me properly clean up this time. I think what I'll do is, well, I've got the files over here, so I'm just going to blow everything up. And hopefully next week, what we can do is get the auto scaling group done. Get RDS done. I think what I'll do with RDS next week is if I have time before stream, I will stand the RDS database up, because that takes a little bit of time. I'll get the database running, but then we'll go through the template so that you can see how it works, because it might take like 20 minutes and that's not a lot of fun. But maybe next week we can get it finished up. Okay. Awesome. Well, as usual, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next Tuesday to see if we can finish up our WordPress project. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.